Testing.
Members, I call to order a meeting of the Transport Panel. This is the first meeting of the panel. We have 65 members in this panel, quite a lot. Quorum 21, we've got a quorum already. May I remind members that in accordance with Rule 76 of our ROP, if a member is the chairman or deputy chairman of a government advisory body in respect of matters which a panel considers to be directly related to the terms of reference, this panel, he shall not be the chairman or deputy chairman of this panel. And according to Rule 77(7), a member shall not be chairman or deputy chairman of more than one panel at the same time. You know, for the security panel and the education panel, the election of chairman and deputy chairman has not been completed yet. So because of that uncertainty, the candidates concerned may not be nominated in this panel. A valid nomination should be made by a proposer and a seconder, and the acceptance of the nominated member concerned is also needed. Mr. Kenneth Lau, I nominate Mr. Michael Tian. Any seconder? Mrs. Regina Yip seconds. Mr. Michael Tian, do you accept that nomination? I don't. Oh, you don't. Ms. Sari Lee, nomination? I nominate Mr. Chen Han Pen. Any seconder, please? Mr. Frankie Yik seconds. Mr. Chen, do you accept the nomination? I do, Chairman. All right, that's a valid nomination. Mr. Gary Chen, I nominate Ms. Lau Xiu Lai. She's told me that she accepts this nomination. All right, any seconder? Mr. Leung Yu Chung seconds the nomination. Ms. Lau Xiu Lai is absent. However, Mr. Raymond Chen, you can confirm that she has already accepted your nomination, right? That being the case, I accept it as a valid nomination. Ms. Sari Lee, again, I disagree with your ruling to accept her nomination because she's just been declared that her oath taken was invalid. Please have it recorded. Or it doesn't matter, but let me tell you that my ruling is acceptable. Although I have just been informed that Mr. Andrew Leung is of the view that Ms. Lau Xiu Lai's oath-taking last Wednesday was invalid, and therefore she has to take the oath again. However, she joined this panel on transport before the deadline. And I'm of the view that since she's a member, well, she's not entitled to vote because the President has ruled that her oath-taking was invalid. Well, I will accept that. For the time being, I'm of the view that the ruling should be announced at a council sitting to be proper. However, the President has to remind those members whose oath-taking were deemed to be invalid well beforehand so that they can be prepared for another oath-taking. Still, even with this uncertainty, since Ms. Lau Xiu Lai has been appointed, a rule that she can be nominated and elected. That's my ruling as the chairman of this panel. Any other point of order? A point of order, Chairman. Hang on, please. I would give precedence to a point of order. Ms. Jeremy Tam is not a point of order, right? All right, Mr. Leung Yu Chung, can you please clearly can you please clarify? Ms. Lau Xiaolai is considered not qualified to vote, but qualified to be nominated. So can she be present in this meeting? My ruling at this point is if Ms. Lau Xiaolai, Ms. Lau Xiaolai can enter the room and take part in the voting. Because my ruling is that the President of the Council can only announce a ruling at a LegCo sitting. At this moment, what he has done is to give his opinion, and his ruling has to be made at a proper sitting. So, if Lau Xiaolai enters the room now, I'll allow her. And if she's going to vote, I will hand her a ballot paper. So I've answered your question, Mr. Leung Yiu-chung. But she's entirely unaware of your ruling, and she's not present. How are we going to deal with this? Shouldn't she be directly informed? Because at some other meetings, she was told that she was not allowed. So isn't it a bit chaotic here? I am now chairing this meeting. You have to bear in mind that she is not here. It's not that I have directed her not to come in. I've asked her not to come in. Do you get this point? I do, but she didn't know whether you would allow her in because she was not allowed at other meetings. Well, even if we step back a bit, Ms. Lau Xiaolai was only informed that she might have to take the oath again. Whether she can come into this meeting room, whether the chairman of this meeting will allow her to vote and to be present is not my responsibility. You asked me for ruling, I already gave it to you. Now, if some members here, in the light of Ms. Leung Yiu-chung's question, would like to inform her, please do so. I've already made my ruling, and I will continue to chair this meeting. And can she raise a point of order here? What rights does she enjoy? Will she enjoy the same rights as we do here? What is your ruling? My ruling is that the President has to make a ruling at a council meeting. I am aware of Mr. Andrew Leung's opinion, but I would regard a ruling made on Wednesday a proper ruling, a formal ruling. Point of order. I think he raised a point of order earlier than Mr. Jeremy Tam's nomination. Dr. Elizabeth Quat, a point of order? Yes. Can the Secretariat please confirm the following? According to our understanding, a member has to complete his or her oath-taking before he is entitled to enter a meeting room to speak and to vote. I heard from Mr. James To that his ruling is he could allow Ms. Lau Xiaolai to come in to join this meeting and to vote. I'd like to know whether Mr. James To is entitled to make such a ruling. So, Ms. Quat's point of order is to seek the Secretariat's opinion. Or it doesn't matter, I'll be generous. I can allow or invite someone from the Secretariat to address Ms. Quat's request, asking for the Secretariat to make known their position. According to ROP number 1, if a member has not completed his oath-taking, he cannot attend a meeting. This is our convention. And Chairman. And usually when the President has done a ruling, has made a ruling, and if it is circulated to members in writing, that is already a ruling. So, Mr. James, so I'm of the view that you have no right to rule that Ms. Lau can come in and participate in this meeting. I maintain my ruling. The Secretariat is of the view that the ruling, once a ruling is circulated to the members in writing, then it is a formal ruling. But I maintain my earlier position. Mr. Kenneth Leung, can you please confirm this? You said that a ruling by the President must be made by the President at a sitting. I disagree with you. Please give us case examples to convince me, because a proper ruling in writing in terms of jurisprudence, it is equally binding as one made by the President orally at a logical sitting. Can you please clarify? Thank you. Mr. Paul Tse. Thank you, Chairman. I also hope that you can reconsider your decision. I agree with Mr. Kenneth Leung and other that when it comes to interlocutory decision, for instance, whether some amendments are allowed, we did not require any formal announcement by the President at a logical sitting. Usually, a written ruling was valid. Once an order was made by the President, that was already legally binding. We understand that in court, an order can be made in writing or orally, so long as the judge or the President has made a ruling orally. It will take effect immediately. Please use jurisprudence on your common sense to reconsider your ruling. Yes, I was about to raise a similar point of order as Mr. Kenneth Leung and Mr. Paul Tse. So the President has made a ruling on the validity of oath-taking by 6 members on the 12th of October. He said in the last paragraph that I've made the following ruling, and then signature and then date is the 11th, or rather is today's date, is the 18th of October. So my understanding is that the President has already made his ruling. I find what you said hard to understand. And I've never heard that the President's ruling would only be effective or valid after he has announced it at a council meeting. So, Chairman, please reconsider your position as to why you allow Ms. Lau Siu Lai to take part in this meeting and to vote, as if the ruling by the President hasn't taken effect. Thank you. I'm at a dilemma. We are already 15 minutes into this meeting. If I am to make careful consideration, then I think it would take time.
Say, if I have to suspend the meeting for some time, then I'm afraid that we can't finish the election of the chairman today. I think the ruling is important. But then I have made this ruling. I will take responsibility for it, of course. But then that will have a direct effect of allowing Lau Siu Lai to be here and allowing her to speak. And if we proceed with the voting and then there is a difference of one vote only, then the issue gets complicated. Now, I would like to ask you, since so many members have asked me to review my ruling, I'm willing to do that. But then it would be difficult for me to make an immediate decision, because in view of the ruling of the President. So I ask you this question. If I am to review my ruling, then that would take some time. Is it more important for me to review my ruling, or is it more important to hold the election of the chairman? What should we do? What's your inclination? So what's the majority views? Mr. Jeremy Tam. Well, I have raised my hand for quite a while. Now, would now like to talk about the point of order instead of nomination. Well, let's not talk about Ms. Lau Siu Lai. Earlier on, the Secretary has given you their views, and then they can stand for election. So that's very clear. So let's not have double standards. You just selectively pick views that you favor from the Secretariat. Anyway, you have made your ruling just now, and you are proceeding with your ruling. But it's just that you don't have enough time to finish the procedures. You're not overturning your ruling, right? Now, if you do that now, then that will affect the proceedings of the subsequent meetings, because you are going to chair the subsequent meetings as well. Then, in that case, you will be inconsistent. Are you making an about turn now? Whether Ms. Lau Siu Lai receives this letter saying that her oath is invalid, you will allow her, right, to stand for election, right, just like the three previous members. I don't see any difference here. Well, their query is not on the fact that Ms. Lau Siu Lai can't stand for election of the chairman because of this president's ruling. Of course, some hold this view. What they meant is that Ms. Lau should not be allowed to attend the meeting, to speak and to vote. So there is a difference here. Mr. Lam Cheuk Ting. Chairman, whether an electoral member has a right to attend a meeting, to vote for a chairman and a vice chairman, this is a very serious issue. So I support your remarks, Chairman, that you should seriously consider the issue and you should seek further legal opinion. Let's be more prudent. So let me make a decision here now. Maybe by 12:30 I have to chair another meeting. And several members may be affected by the President's ruling as to whether they can attend, whether they have the right to vote, etc. So if I have to consider such issues beyond 12:30, maybe another person can take my chair. But anyway, let me make this decision. I would suspend the meeting of this meeting of the transport panel. I would hear more views and consider them before I make a decision. This will be beneficial to the meetings to be held in the afternoon, because there may be similar queries raised. So I'm sorry to say this, members of the transport panel, I'm afraid we can't finish the election of the chairman today. I hope that you can understand my position. So, Mr. Michael Tan, you said that you would suspend the meeting. Are we finished with the nomination procedures yet? No, not yet. So if we resume the meeting, there can be further nominations, right? Yes. Yes, okay. Well, let me read this. Mr. Edward Lau. Well, if you are repeating other members' queries, no need to repeat those. I've received members' views, heard members' reviews. Dr. Chen Chengtai, well, I really appreciate your ruling that saying that Ms. Lau Silai can attend the meeting. Well, but going by the same logic, Edward Lau, Nathan Law, Yao Wai-ching, and also Sixtus Leung can attend the meetings, because that would be a natural consequence of your ruling just now. I think it's a technical issue. Whether the president's ruling has to be made at the full council meeting. Well, there can only be two outcomes. One, your ruling is inconsistent, or then they can be here. Well, my ruling is consistent all along. I think the latest president's ruling, including the fact that he has ruled one oath-taking invalid, which the Secretary General has ruled valid last time. My question is, well, if Ms. Lau can be allowed in the meeting, why is Edward Yao, Sixtus Leung, and Yao Wai-ching can't attend the meeting? Well, as I explained in the previous meeting, because the Secretary General said that he didn't have the authority to administer the oath, and it's Abraham Sheikh who made the ruling that they couldn't attend the meeting. So don't put the blame or the responsibility on Kenneth Chan. I don't have the authority to rule on whether they are allowed. In the meeting, I am making my ruling based on the Secretary General's ruling. Up to this minute, I still hold the view or maintain that unless the President makes a ruling otherwise in a full council meeting, then the case remains to be the same. The Secretary General said that he can't finish the oath-taking, so they couldn't complete the oath-taking, and the President or the Chairman at that time, based on ROP 1, said that they could not, since they could not complete the oath-taking, they moved the meeting venue to LC1. So the one who made the decision is not the Secretary General. And the Secretary General hasn't explained why the three members were not allowed into the meeting room. Well, the chair now here said that it was the pro-establishment camp members, it was the Secretary General who made the ruling. Well, your point was on a point of order, and I had to respond to that. And all I can say is that my ruling was not based on Mr. Abraham Sheikh's ruling. Dr. Helena Wong. Dr. Helena Wong, are you on a point of order? Yes, I'm on a point of order. At the Home Affairs panel meeting just now, I also asked the Secretariat to make a copy of the President's ruling to everyone. Although the email has arrived, but we haven't got a copy. I don't have a copy myself either. Have you received it? Well, we don't have the hard copy. So I support you, Chairman, suspending the meeting and wait for a copy of the ruling first, or else we'll be seeing the same problem appear in every other subsequent panel meeting. Well, let's do it this way. I understand that you don't have a copy, hard copy. We have meeting after meeting, back to back. Of course, we can ask our assistants to make a copy for us, or else we'll have to read through the computer screen. I have difficulties in doing that. Perhaps we can ask the Secretariat to make hard copies for us, for those members who need them. I think that's okay, right? It helps everyone. Mr. Martin Liao, point of order. Well, I'm here. To your right. Sorry. Oh, I couldn't spot you. Well, you have the authority to implement the rules of procedure. According to 3 of Rule of Procedure, you are you have the authority to conduct the meetings. So that's point number 1. Second point, I'd like to remind the chairman. It said if a member has not taken the oath in accordance with the prescribed requirements, he can't attend the meeting. So this is a fact, very much a fact. Well, this is a judgment on fact on whether a certain member has finished the oath taking. Well, I understand what you said, but earlier on I said that my judgment is that we need Mr. Andrew Leung to make the announcement at the full council meeting. But some members thought otherwise, so that's why I have to review my own ruling. You have already made the ruling, and the ruling is already here. Of course, you can make another ruling. If you want to review your own rationale or grounds, you can do so. Ms. Tanya Chan, point of order, right? I would like to follow up on what you said. I agree to your adjourning the meeting. It's about time to end the meeting, nevertheless. And you would like to review your own ruling, and that is to say that the President should announce his ruling in the full council meeting to make it valid. So I think the chairman, you should adjourn the meeting, consider the issue in detail, and give us a reply afterwards, because it will affect subsequent meetings. Well, are we having lunch? You still have one more meeting. Well, then that's more difficult, because at 12:30 we will be facing the same problem. And until 1, then I can have lunch, and then I can have a meeting with the legal advisor. In any case, we're coming to the end of this meeting. I'm very sorry that because of all these questions, the transport panel cannot elect the elect the chairman, and the nomination procedures are not yet completed. And if we resume the meeting in the future, we still have to make nominations for the chairman, and we have to still conduct the voting. So I would adjourn the meeting here now.